Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Taking another look at Wargroove, this time in depth looking at the gameplay. Reminder again, it's going to be spoiler heavy as I'm just going to be talking about everything. First looking at local. Online and local are the same. You can choose the number of players, 2, 3, or 4, along with co-op. And that is pretty much it. And it plays out exactly the same way, whether you do online or co-op. And then you just choose your commanders. Like I said in the review, the difference is the commanders. Everything else is the skin, the units, all the different types of units. And you can choose the color, team, or free-for-all. I picked free-for-all just to see the AI behavior. And then the other 3 are just AI. There's no difficulty, unfortunately, with it. I found it a bit too easy, but it's similar to, games like Warcraft, besides it being turn-based, that you mathematically you're in a area of the map that makes it fair for each of the players. So I have 2 on my side. Everyone has 2 players to their corners. And you can choose to kind of skip through. In the settings, I let it go. I can manually do it if I want, but you can set it where it skips through all the motions, whether you're attacking someone or capturing a building. And it plays out like a classic turn-based game. Your turn, and then the other 3 characters. But you can do this with teams. So for co-op, and then there's also co-op game types that you can also play. On my turn here, you see I have the dog. You see how many squares you can, it's all mapped out in the grid, how many squares you can move, and this is limited by things like geography. Trees, mountains can limit the amount of places you can move. And the build, you can choose to do it at the beginning or at the end. It doesn't make a difference because you're not accumulating money. You only accumulate after the turn after you've captured a village. So this plays strategically. If you're trying to knock out someone, you can keep contesting a building, provided you can take out all the health points each turn that you're attacking a village. And back to me, and then when I can attack someone, it shows it. Like I can select them, and if it shows red, I can attack them. And then where I move is very important. I can decide which side to attack him. If I'm close enough, I can do multiple sides. If I'm not, I can only be on one side. Units I have here is I have the swordsman, and then my commander, Caesar. Then I built 2 trebuchets. All the units, you'll familiarize yourself with them as you play through the campaign. Some have range, some can't attack back, some can. The trebuchets I find to be very useful because of their range, and they can attack everything. They can attack units, and some of the strong ones, like the giants, golems, they do a lot of damage to them, and at range where the golems have to get in close. Here I have a swordsman, and I'm deciding whether to attack or not. In this case, I didn't because I had few hit points, so instead I'm going for a defensive position, going into the forest territory. And I'm kind of playing it, looking at what's going on, and if I attack one side or another, I got those. That's part of the reason I like the trebuchets, is I can move pretty far, and then they have that range, so it kind of keeps people at bay. And there's a synergy impact too. If I have a couple of them, few of them, with a ballista, here I'm attacking units. They're expensive, but you take out a couple, and they pay for themselves. And here I wish the AI was smarter, like building knights or other units to counter my trebuchets. It makes it a bit easy on the multiplayer local mode, but not the case with the campaign. If you play regular difficulty, you can't get away with it as much. Normal, I was a little bit, but still the difficulty was okay. Playing in normal mode. So maybe this will be something that they can patch later at a harder difficulty, but for now it's just a default difficulty. So you have all the villages where you're gaining money. And then you have different units. You have the barracks, which is all your ground units, including trebuchets. And there's a kind of an aviary. It's not called an aviary, but the tower that where you can build your flying units, like your dragon, your anti-air unit. One is a witch. They have different names, but they do the same thing. And then like a general attack air unit as well. Now here I see green is moving in the bottom here. Yeah, it's a kind of game you can, it's a little more of a time suck. So it's relaxing, where you can be eating something or doing something else while you're playing it. Here I'm deciding with my trebuchets whether to attack, and here I'm going up behind or to the side to attack. With the attack defense, it favors disregarding terrain. Depends on terrain too, but it favors attack, because you attack, they lose those units, and the remaining units fire back. So it is a game that does favor the attacker. This is common with a lot of strategy games too. Like once you have the siege units, they typically make them to have longer range than defensive buildings and units. So kind of being on the attack, if possible, helps. Unless you could do like a strong counterattack and then keep attacking. Now here I'm taking out a building, and he can keep capturing it, but I can keep attacking it. Now with this one, I'm choosing to attack, and I don't take it down. You can only capture buildings with infantry and certain ground units. You can't do it with knights. So any walking ground units, the alchemist, archer, and even the commander. Here I'm building a ballista. Ballista has long range. It doesn't do as much damage as a trebuchet, but the important function of it is it attacks air units. So the 2 units you can cover an area with if you get enough of them. I mean, I have a couple trebuchets on a ballista. I'm sitting pretty well. I can cover any air units that they decide to build. And some of these are pretty expensive, like a dragon, I believe is 1,000, whereas a ballista is 800, and then the trebuchet is 900. So if I take out a dragon in one shot, even if he takes out a unit, it can be a wash. But if I get enough of them, then it can be worth it more than the dragon. A couple hundred gold, and then you can take them out. And here I'm paying attention to what's going on. The groove you see in the top with the blue unit, they have that kind of little aura. That means they can use their unique ability. With the vampire lady, her name escapes me right now, she can take a unit's health and replenish her own. The one I have, Caesar, his ability is all the adjacent units in a cross, I can click Inspire, and then they get another turn if they've already used up a turn. So at least 2 units, typically, because he's got to get in there and get next to them in just the right spot. But yeah, you're always checking the grid and looking at what direction, even if you're capturing a building too. Sometimes you can go up next to it, like in the woods, where you're in a more defensive location. And the criticals impact this too. Like with the archer, if she doesn't move, she gets a critical hit. But like the alchemist, who has a ranged attack, if she has a defense of a certain number or more, like if she's in the forest, then she gets a critical attack, which ups the damage a lot more. And that's like with her, like the movement, so you want to be moving to a spot where you can attack, whereas with the archer, you want to get more in a fixed position to be able to attack. And there's, yeah, like for variety of units, when you spawn one, you have that cross area, up, down, left, right, where the unit does spawn. And there's more barracks, like if I take over a town, depending on the map, it kind of acts as a forward base. The commanders are stronger than the normal units. Like you see the health bars for each side. But with the commanders, they can typically take out a unit if they're at full health. Again, depending on how much health you have, that's how much you attack. Here they're attacking a building. And actually, I was in a little bit of trouble here, because if you lose your stronghold, that's the castle building you have with each base, then you lose. Also, if your hero unit dies, you also lose too. Those are the two terms for losing. Right now I'm skipping through, and everything goes into fast motion, including, like, not only the battles that they show through the visuals, but like the movement too. Back to my turn. Here I'm attacking units, so I'm worried about my stronghold, because I don't have too many hit points left. So now I'm defending that. And again, that's why I like the trebuchets. You can attack units and buildings, and that's everything. And then for the air, you have the ballista. So the siege weapons work well in this game. But I'm deciding attacking one or the other, and paying attention to what gold does. Because if he takes out one side, then he'll move in and he can get stronger while I'm kind of contending with another side. So I'm not kind of keeping one weak, or not too weak, so he can take him out. Functions a little bit like, small scale. Oddly reminds me of Warcraft 3. It was before World of Warcraft, where they went with less units, and it revolved around the hero. Here the commander is stronger too. It's not exactly the same. Your commander can't hold items, or he doesn't gain experience either. The only thing he has is if he attacks units, he gets his ability and is able to do it. But it kind of reminds me of that, where you're looking at the strength of the bases. If you're playing a free-for-all match, or even a team match too, and then kind of attacking based upon that, or just seeing what they're doing for resources. There is a fog of war. This one I kept open, like with those games too, where you can only see based on how far your units can see. This one, just to kind of show how it plays out, I decided to do it this way. That'd be a good way to add challenge, though, if you're doing these modes, because I can see what's going on. Like I said, keeping one side weak or strong enough, I kind of know what to do, because I can see all what he's doing. You can see what I'm doing too, I suppose, but it'd be much more of a weakness for me, because I don't know, like AI behavior, I can maybe still see what you're doing even if there is a fog of war in some of these games. Trebuchet's far movement. On the road, you can travel even farther, and the knight has the most. So you get a knight by a road, he can go farther than you expect. And this would be a really fun game to play with multiplayer. I didn't like being able to know how much you can attack guaranteed first. I was hoping there would be some randomization to it, but with all the factors, keeping tabs on how far your units can move and attack and damage, makes it not really a big deal, and you still kind of have that randomization just because of the movement and where just all the possibilities on where they can go. Here I'm attacking the commander unit. With the local, the music changes when it's your turn. You kind of hear it change over, and it can again move quickly. You can do the turn skipping thing. With the money, besides seeing the unit cost, you notice in the bottom there it says what they're strong against and what they're weak against, and you can click over, move your control stick over each aspect to see specifically what it does and what they're strong with. It's not terribly complicated, fortunately. You basically need to know what their critical damage is, because here she's using her heal suck ability. Because the movement you can see after they're built. You can kind of see where they're moving. It's largely like self-explanatory. Things like trebuchets have more range, more damage, like kind of stuff you would assume. Now they're using abilities a bit more. And some are movement, like his blade dash, he attacks and then moves over an area, so you can use it for movement. Here's an example. She's getting weaker, still a lot of damage, but wasn't able to take out a unit. So they're almost done. With your commander, you got to be careful. They can change like the tide of battle easily because they do so much damage, but if their health gets too low, then they get into some problems. But they can take out some units, and then if you heal them, it can be a gamble worth taking. Here I'm reinforcing. What that does is I can heal my unit if I spend some money, as long as I go to a captured village at the beginning of the turn. And here I'm deciding kind of what to build. It's not always a bad idea to save up. Each barracks, you can only build one unit at a time. Just something to keep in mind. So you kind of want to always be building something, and it goes from like 100 gold all the way to 1,200 if you're buying the giant, which I'm taking out here. Do you see how much? So that does, like, even if I don't take them out, it kind of renders them almost useless if their health is so low, because the damage they do will be so low, and if they attack a unit, then I can attack them with anything, and then they'll be killed. So what I do, like my strategy is, if I do have a unit that has low health, decide whether to reinforce or put them in defensive position. Forest is the main one that gives you defense. Mountains are even better, but you're limited by movement speed. If there's a mountain far away, trees far away, I can get closer to a forest than I can a tree, the more difficult the terrain is. And here I have 2 barracks, so I have some options. The alchemist is good for healing. Always good to have at least one. It costs money, though. They can use their ability, but that always costs you some money, and it's an area. This is something I learned a lot later in the game. I thought it was just a single unit that healed, but it's actually a whole area, so you want to be strategic with that. The games these ones aren't terribly long. In the campaign, it takes quite a bit long. Like, there are larger maps. Here I picked a smaller map, so I mean it could be quite a bit longer, but the campaign levels take quite a bit more time per level. I did beat the full campaign. The side mission, and there are side missions too. I played only one of them. They're not necessary. It's just like extra missions. So there's a lot for the campaign. I can keep you tied over for a while, and the game is only $20. So even if you're doing single player, there's more than enough. Puzzle mode, I didn't do any footage in this video for that one, but that can be something people like too, where there's one set of moves to win each puzzle. In the ballista, you'll find not as much damage for land units, but it has that longer range. And for flying units, it's more of an area protector one, where the trebuchets are for attack, has longer range. And the critical's important between those two. For ballista, if they're closer, you get a critical. For the trebuchet, the max distance, you get a critical hit. But you want to, if you see an enemy and they have trebuchets, those are ones you want to pay attention to, because that range can almost guarantee take out a unit. Or even if they don't, again, the unit is damaged, and then their attack is much lower. Here I'm doing more reinforcing. And it gets costly over time, the longer you leave those trebuchets. Here my dog, Caesar, my commander, has the Inspire ability. Deciding what to do. I'm going with Reinforce. No point taking the risk. I could attack. I'm keeping them a little just strong enough, because once yellow goes through them, they'll get more, then they'll go through me. So my goal here is I'm switching to green, base green, and deciding which units to build. And if you don't know, you can't go wrong building a swordman or a pikeman. They're cheap and won't affect your income too much. Now they're hanging on here. Most of the time they take out the stronghold. because it's in a fixed location. The hero will dance, commander, same thing. I'm thinking of Warcraft 3 again. The commander will dance around. You know, if his health is too low, he'll go away, but that stronghold is stuck. That's the main way to be taken out. Now there you notice, even with villages too, their health is low, and there you got the stronghold. And that's usually what happens, and they lose all their units, everything. That's why I'm going for green here. Fortunately, green's kind of veering off the path, attacking him too, but you know, he's in a worse position, because he's got enemies on two sides here. Trebuchet does not fire back, no matter what. Same thing with the ballista. Other ranged units do, though. But now I'm getting in position here. I'm covering that open area, kind of going to the middle. I'm kind of sticking with two areas. I know green's in a little bit of trouble, so I can divert, send a little bit more here. And Commander captures a village, it gets more health points. Whatever the max health points, if they're attacked it's lower, of course, your village is that much stronger. Some units you want to be sacrificing too, just to get in position. The game is weighted a little bit more that way, where if you have one unit out there, and not any others, you know, they're very vulnerable. But you have that vulnerable unit and you move a bunch of others at the same time, it gets hectic pretty quick, where it's harder for the defender to make a decision taking out one unit. Well, they can't leave it, but they can't leave the others, even if they could get those. Another example there, I took out the stronghold, and that typically happens. And if you're in that position, you want to just move your hero, you might as well, to try to defend everything else, because I mean, you lose either one, it's over. So now I can leave that area and kind of push towards the middle to get this guy. But yeah, difficulty, I wish it was a bit harder. One way you can do it, it's kind of like I did with old games too. Sometimes some were actually pretty tough. I remember like the original StarCraft, trying to do, like that one, the original only had melee, but then everyone would still go after you. And then later, they changed it to free-for-all, where everyone's on their own, they're attacking each one, so you had a little bit more of a... Even melee, though, I mean, like, the pros could do that, of course. But that was, the challenge, if you have, like, 4 people total and 3 attacking you. The same thing with the trebuchets, like having them in like the forest area helps. With the capture village, even if you have a weaker unit, I have a swordsman versus a knight, but if I capture a village, I'm kind of adding hit points in a way, and I'm adding 2 targets. It's usually a good idea. Here I'm adding inspired. This gives me another shot for my very valuable trebuchet, and I'm taking out that knight. And you know, that's hard to know that's going to happen. To pay attention to that, it's like, oh, he's going to move his dog, he's going to trebuchet, and he's going to use his trebuchet twice. Like, that's tough to see unless you're really taking your time with the turns. The knight's critical is if I go, I think it's 4 spaces in one turn and move, he does a critical. But here, again, what I'm doing is massing. Even if I'll lose one, it puts him in a vulnerable position to try to attack that guy. If I mass units in a single area, no matter which one he attacks. That's kind of the strategy, and I'll leave a guy or 2, and then he can capture all the villages. And that's the usual, it's like strategy. Like with strategy games, a lot of the like the super pros can look at 2 areas. One where they're just capturing resources, another where they're not. And that's always something really hard because you're jumping around, you know, hotkeys and all that. This is, though, easy. It's for console. And you're just using a controller, you can see everything. But again, more of a pain compared to like PC or even like Switch, Nintendo Switch, as it does take time just to move around, you know, go up one square or another. But the good part to that is it is turn-based, so there is no rush, And it's simplistic. You don't have like 100 units that you have to circle click or have all these commands. Halo Wars for the Xbox One kind of suffers from that. That you have to hold down, select a bunch of units to attack, and jump around, add hotkeys, all that. Benefit with that one though is it does have like a blitz mode and some online multiplayer, and makes it more niche. Oh, here's my one guy. Just capturing some of those buildings. I'm not really worried about income, so I'm just capturing the barracks just to buy units and move ahead. But I'm not in any real danger here, just because he has so few units and all those trebuchets. He doesn't have anything to combat them, even if he gets more. And you have that with like the medieval games, those like siege engines. Once you get those into place with their range, and if there's fast air units, then you're good. Here he's moving ahead, but with every shot is a kill basically with those things. The environment right now, you're seeing rain in the top right corner. There's my income, the turn number, and if there is weather. There's things like rain, wind, and they impact how far you can move, attacking. Not a whole lot of an impact. Like if a game is very close, it could, if you're doing a lot of moves at once, like your attacks are less, or you can move more. It's nice they have it. If you do have those close games, but most of the time it's the units you've built, how it pans out. Those small little things aren't going to make much of an impact. And here what I am doing, so I'm moving out my knights, kind of a wide pattern, doing this so I can attack like individual units in an area, and if they're far away, that's what they're good at, so I'm able to reach them. And at the same time, my trebuchets can kind of hold a defensive area, like they can move ahead, or if they come in close and attack my knights, then they're in range of my trebuchets, and I'm building some giants here. And they're just skins. That's the only difference. He can build everything I can build. The only difference is his commander has that blade dash, mine has the inspire, where I get an extra turn if I'm in close proximity to a unit. But this is an easy game if you haven't played like too many strategy games, and the tutorials, all that is explained well. You can dig into it too, like in the menu explains every unit, what they do, and you don't have to worry, besides each unit, where the direction they're going, formation, too much. Majority of the complexity that I had to learn, is the terrain and whether you attack or you kind of hang back. You don't always want to. Well, this is with the campaign. With a multiplayer, I found that to be easier because you can build units. But with the campaign, you don't always want to just move as far as you can. You want to put certain units in certain combinations with other, or wait, build certain areas, and it has greater complexity because of the water and the ship units they're able to add. And that's probably why they stuck with the skins version, where every civilization is the same. There's just a difference in skins between them. Some games do this. Another one I'm thinking of, and then adding like slight differences that don't have a huge impact. Like another game that's very complex, has a lot. I don't play strategy games too often, but way back, Age of Empires 2 is an example where like the unit, like your castle unit, would be different. Even though the ones after 2, I believe, Age of Empires, Age of Mythology, played those. Those are a long time ago, I know. But they would have the different units, and then certain things where you have more, you have certain technologies, or they're cheaper, or you just certain, like your buildings are stronger, or you can build faster, or like a type of archer that has more additional range, things like that. Or it has a small impact because the game is just so complex. Except for the difference of type of unit you'd build, like cavalry or archer, even siege weapons too, like the trebuchet and the cannon. And then you have games like StarCraft, Warcraft, that complicated differences, not as many civilizations, like 3 with StarCraft and then 4 for Warcraft. But then, like, the cost of units, the amount of damage they do, the type of heroes you have, what they do, you know, a lot of complexity there. Now here I'm slowly moving in. Most of the time, I find with this game, you want to take out the units first, rather than don't rush for the buildings. Because the units, they only build 1 per turn, or 2 max, but 2 is going to be later. They have to capture 2 barracks to be capturing too. So I mean, you take out a unit, you take out a few in a turn, you're pushing them back, you know, a ways. And then even if they rebuild, it's easy to take out that unit because there's less of them. And you can take your time taking out a building. Again, the stronghold is all you got to do to win. So once you have enough units around a stronghold, you can just attack it and take it out if it's left in the open. And that's what I'm doing. I got a few, I can just take them out, and then that's it. And always you can click on the unit. What I'm doing is searching around, seeing what my range is with each unit. Getting them into position. And even vulnerable ones, like, you know, trebuchets, I can mass together, you know, and they gotta get close enough to attack, and they don't take it out, and then they're vulnerable. My other trebuchets can shoot at them. That's synergy impact. And I was wrong. One more turn here, and then it's vulnerable. And, you know, there I have my vulnerable commander in the forest, so he's in a defensive position. Normally the games would take longer. This one was a small map, but they're not, you know, hours long like you have with some other strategy games. And that is the same, you know, local and online, you have all the same options. Next I'm going to look at arcade mode. With this one, it's kind of like the campaign. And you see puzzle mode on the side there too. And then as you play, you unlock more of the characters, and there's 3 per type. You know, the difference is just between the commanders. You know, their different abilities. And then you have 5 missions, and even a little dialogue between them, and it's preset who they fight in first mission, second mission. So here I have Valdair attacking Caesar, like the 2 civilizations, and kind of related to the campaign. Like these 2 are fighting. These 2 faction civilizations, so you want to call them, are fighting in the main campaign early on. And the type of units you have, like how that's set. There is, if you're into map editing, also campaign editing. You can do all of that in this game. And I would think this would be ideal on, I played this on Xbox One, but the Switch especially, with the touchscreen. In the beginning, like a lot of strategy games, play the same way. There's not too much complexity. You don't have a lot of money. You only have a couple units. So it's obvious where you want to go. If you want to capture a village in the first turn or the second turn, or if you want to get in a more offensive or defensive position, even if some guys are moving aggressively on you. Then after that, then it gets more complicated when you build types of units, or if you decide to save up, buy a cheap unit, and then get a more expensive one the following turn. And with this map, you see mountains on the sides there. Those dudes give you the greatest defense. The most open is the road or in the water or the beach that you're the most vulnerable. Like it subtracts from your defense when you have that. But with all these, I mean, arcade mode 2, where I'm building units, even if I replayed the campaign, I mean, I would do it completely on the hardest difficulty. I did it, which is the default. I did it on the hardest for like the first, like, towards the end of the second act, when I was in the woods. Then I switched to normal difficulty. So there is like a challenge there too. If you're playing through regular difficulty through the whole campaign, it'll take you a while. But it was the cemetery mission. There I switched to the normal difficulty, which still gives you a decent challenge compared to. It's not like it's pushover easy. Like I still died like, in a few missions with that one too. But like replaying it, as you know, after knowing how it works, if I could build units, I'd do it a little bit differently. Here's my commander units, you know, but I basically take out most of their entire health because I'm at full health. And here Valder, Valder is probably how you say it. Raised dead. It's in a cross section. I can choose where to spawn him, and then he moves around. A couple have unit spawning abilities. One you have to pay for, but you can do different kinds. Mine I don't. I can just spawn the skeleton warrior. But I'm sticking with pretty much the same strategy, the trebuchet. But even so, I'm using different units. I have I have the knight, the swordman, the alchemist for healing. The dog that I just started with. The dog I'm not as much of a fan with. They're not expensive and they have good movement speed, as you can about guess. But their critical is having to be adjacent to another dog unit. So they can kind of function independently, but if it's to do with attacking, they need that unit. So I like having little less options there. There they got my dog and my other one. And they have a ballista, which has greater range than my trebuchet, but does a lot less damage and is mainly used for flying units. And for siege weapons, knights work well because they can move so far and they can't attack back. So if you get a high attack unit, which that's what his is, you know, moving so many spaces and then attacking, and they're in rough shape. Which I'm kind of sticking there. I'm massing towards the bottom. Here's another village, and I got my extra trebuchet. So the bottom's basically covered. It gets to a point of like the barracks isn't captured, the village isn't captured. No matter what he builds, that trebuchet is going to be there to knock it out each turn. And certain units have that. Like a different strategy could be if I had different knights or even defensive units. Like I could have an archer in the forest just sitting there. Wouldn't have the range, but... Now here I'm putting them within firing range, but since I have a bunch of units, I can mass and attack there. And they have all their villages there, so I can take out one at a time. But, again, with the units, if you take out the units, you can take your time, taking out villages, or just stick to the objective and, let each unit spawn, and then you can attack. So as another player, if someone is... And if you know what they're doing, you can do a bit more. Like a defensive for him could be his knights attacking my trebuchets, and just kind of covering other villages too. But and the difficulty you can change with this. This is on normal, so this is easier. You can do hard mode with this one, which is what I would recommend. If you've played strategy games before. But here, kind of like with the local game, I'm sticking with pretty much the same strategy, except I'm taking out some villages first. Because the advantage of a village is not only like you take away their income, but you can heal your units one per turn for each village that you capture. There's a lot of one per turn stuff. Barracks you can build one at a time. The tower that builds air units, that's one at a time. You can use each building too. That counts as kind of using that village one at a time. One thing I didn't mention with the movement, you can see how the mountains in the forest limit movement of certain units. Like if it's grassland, like with that knight, I can go over several spaces, but once I go to a forest, I'm stuck there. Or a mountain too. It's just one of those. And here I'm healing my units. Another advantage to massing units together, attacking a ballista with a knight. And they're in range, he's in range of the giant. But then he'll be in range of 2 trebuchets. So it's not always terribly complicated, especially when you mass. Another advantage of massing units is you can kind of see what you can do. But then the defender, it's harder for them to attack the formation, because then all those units are within range and you can attack it as you please. And here I have kind of numerical superiority, so I'm just attacking with my commander. There's not much of a risk. And you don't have to, remember, you don't have to take out the units. If their health is low enough, then you don't have to worry about them really attacking. So like one shot with the trebuchet, even though I don't take out that giant, damage he does isn't going to be much, and I can just use a lowly unit really to take him out, like an archer or a knight too. I can move pretty far. And certain units are, more, as you can guess, have less defense than others. Like the alchemist is more vulnerable. If they're in the forest, then they're in better shape. And the giant functions more as a tank unit. Like he does high damage and can take more damage, but he doesn't have that long range. Here he's moving his commander Caesar farther away so he doesn't get killed. See how little damage the ballista does, especially against the commander. There he tried to attack, and then he was... Which can be the right way to go if you just want to take out some health points of a commander. You can attack them provided they don't heal. That's another reason, that's the risk-reward of aggressively using your commander. The heal cost isn't that bad, and you're healing a lot for a single unit. So you don't want to leave them, hanging back, usually. But at this point, I got so many units, so the guy's running away. And, like, strategies, you can develop more. The basic one is, siege weapons in the back, ranged. And there isn't any, like the tank, the giant kind of functions as a siege weapon, because he does high damage. The problem is, though, villages can attack back, or units can, if he doesn't take them out, because he's melee. Most of the units attack back if they're melee, except siege weapons. Well, here I'm getting close. I'm just sticking with giants because I'll be close to units and I can do high attack and I can move around, even though the cost is more. I don't find them to be as useful a unit because they cost 1,200 compared to like a trebuchet is 900, and your trebuchet can just knock out a. But it depends what the strategy is. Like they have farther movement speed and more flexibility in attacking. They don't have to be in the position. So, it all depends. But once again, sticking with the stronghold, taking out. And you grow, as you play the game, you grow accustomed to how their range works, like what squares, the direction. But some are pretty wide, like the ballista. It can attack very close and then has a decent amount of range too. Like here, yeah, and you need to have a unit with more health. Like if you have one go off alone trying to take villages like that guy just did, like they fight back in the same way, depending on how much health they have left. So if you don't take out, so it's good to take out any unit you can, especially if they have most of their health initially, and then you get no retaliation. But if it's low health and they attack back, it's not going to go down all that much. And you don't have to look at every little bar of health with this stuff too. It's just a scale. You generally see how much damage, and you learn what each unit, how much damage they do. The more you play the game, archers and alchemists, and then it's all against different units. Like archers, it's broader. You can attack various units, but with the alchemists, they're good against air units. They have decent range too. Now here I'm sticking with movement, letting them go one more time. We got one of my trebs, but but I can hit it 3 times, and that's it. Again, the stronghold goes down. So that's the first mission. And there's dialogue. There's a little narrative with this. Each person is looking for a weapon except or each commander is looking for a weapon except the last commander you get, which is kind of doing the opposite. So here's the second mission. Kind of sticking with the story. It's the same Cherrystone Nation. This time it's Mercia. That's the main character you play in the game. Different map. Like this is a desert one. This one has water, and it has towers on the side. And those I need to capture. But and then also too, one thing I did mention, you unlock different things. You unlock lore, tunes, sound effects. By beating certain things, they give you stars, and you can, if you have just so many, you don't spend them. You just need a requirement of so many to get different things. But no, none of the as of now DLC or any like separate stuff that you buy. It's quite a bit, again, quite a bit for just $20 that you get with this game. And if you play with someone else, if you're looking for something like this, there's not really much else on consoles this generation, like I said before. Normally there's... this map is smaller, so they didn't bother with it. There's usually like a shipyard for each map, so you can build naval units. And that adds another layer of strategy, but similar things. Where there's a merman, that's a unit that can go water and land. He can go farther in water than he can on land, but he can capture. That's the main thing, where the boats can't capture. Like villages, they have also in the water, and shipyards are on land, of course, so both can capture, but he can cross water to get to them. Here's a sandstorm. Another weather effect, again, that top right corner, you can see it. Yeah, I'll have to try hard difficulty. Trebuchet is just... strategy works too well in normal. Because it can get more complicated if you're going counter to counter, and it's harder at a harder difficulty if they're building various units. With this one, I'm going to the right. They're going to the left. And one thing I'm doing is my commander is in the front. This can be risky, but you can gauge it. If there's not too many units, it's worth putting him out there because he does such high damage. Even if he gets attacked, they're not going to take off too much health early on in the game because it's weaker units. So he can do a lot of damage, and healing isn't much. You heal for a larger amount for that unit than other units, so it's good to have him in the front. And then his groove ability gets charged up faster than too. I'm able to use, which I use there. Mercia's groove ability is heal, which is very useful, and it's a bigger area than the Alchemist heal, and it's free, which is a big plus. So for her, even more so, then my guy would really attack because she can just heal herself and the group around her. You do quite a bit there. Here I'm clearing them out a little bit. With this game, I find it's easy to tell what each side's doing is, but to have at least just that one unit, sometimes capturing, and kind of keeping them within range to move on offense, like you see my skeleton warrior down there is attacking the ballista. That makes it harder because if they go a concentrated area, I can move where they're leaving. And you can take out a village, or in this case I chose to attack the ballista, which is a high value unit. 800 gold, and my skeleton war is only 100. And that's just a reskin of the, or another skin, whatever you'd call it, of the swordsmen for other factions. Here building units, so moving them out of the way so it doesn't get attacked. Well, you know, again, once you get that first attack, their attack power can go way down. Especially like a siege unit, if they're attacked by a full health unit of most types really. There they were killed. I got my groove again here, using it, and his health is a little low, so I'm going back. But there's not always too much of a concern. Like, I've had heroes die in the main campaign. And here I'm attacking from the water, so I'm vulnerable, but I can take them out, so I don't have to worry about counterattack there. You can usually get out of the way, though, like if it's a straight-up fight and you're both building and sending units. There's not too much of the, like, getting overwhelmed, surprised. I just gotta watch those ranged units, like ballistas, trebuchet. I'm sticking with the alchemist. I like to have one alchemist for healing with each group, with the main group at least. But that's if we have the solo guy go by himself like I do. If he can't really attack too much or take too much retaliation because I can't heal him if he's far away. But it also functions as kind of a distraction. Here she has the giant and moving ahead, which isn't smart. You want to know which ones are good or bad, because you're just going to be losing a lot of health from that trebuchet. One hit, and you'll see how much health goes down here. Now, all of it. It's about a little over half that you're getting with the attack. Here I'm attacking the other unit. Then moving in. You can do like a little bottleneck a bit too. But remember, you can cross water to attack units. But I'm going for that on the bridge. And then my commander unit is attacking. And since he's not like Mercia with the heal, I'm doing reinforce, getting his health back up. And moving in my alchemist here. And I'm building one more guy. The one I didn't talk about, the pikeman, he's a little bit stronger. His movement isn't as far as the swordsman. He's a little bit stronger than him now. And some of the other units, the wagon you use to move. The other units, for flying, you have the dragon, which I mentioned, that he only attacks ground. You have the Weirven, different name. There's like a, depending on the faction you pick, but they're all the same. He attacks land and air. This includes ships. Dragon for ships too, of course. Then there's the Witch, which is the anti-air. Again, different names across different factions. Also, there's a flying unit too you can use to transport. And then for the ships, you have the Turtle. That's your anti-boat. So it's kind of like a submarine. The destroyer type would be the harpoon ship, and you can also attack the submarines, of course. And then the battleship would be like the cannon. And he has long range, can attack. And you can use like trebuchets and ballistas against these units too. Alright, turn 8, she has her groove. Yeah, you want to avoid... she's using it, but healing herself in like 1 unit. Yeah, so depending on the commander you pick, you want to be aware of what their groove is, and strategy changes a little bit based upon that. Like with her, I'd be even more aggressive than with mine. Whereas with my character, I go offense, defense, depending on if I can heal them or if I don't want to use it. If I go back and I spawn a unit and I use that kind of block, a bottleneck, I was like on this map because there's a bridge. But with this one, I mean, I take out the last unit and then it's all on one. The advantage with him is I can keep building my skeleton warrior as time goes on. Here I have my pikeman. You see the movement speed isn't quite as much. And then I have my giant, similar to my other game. And that pretty much wraps it up. So you kind of see how the game plays. Again, remember the local online, that's all the same. You have co-op, the 3 different modes, all unlockable stuff through the stars. I didn't mention that too much in the main game. So. Thanks for stopping by. I hope this helped. Like, subscribe if you liked the video. Don't forget to tap that bell to get notifications when I release a video. There's my 3rd guy. And I will see you next time.